Are you a light worker or a dark worker or something else entirely? Today we're taking a look at the concept of light workers and dark workers. This is something that's pretty popular in the spiritual community. So we're going to be seeing exactly what these are and what you are. It's going to be really good and we're going to jump right into it. But of course, please like and subscribe. Help get this information out there and spread these around. The algorithm likes it when you press like and subscribe, so please do. I like it as well. Also, if you enjoy my work and you want to see this channel grow and you want to support my work and help me make bigger and better videos, support over on Patreon. It helps out a lot. It's the best way to support my work, and you get access to all of our members only videos, and there's a new one every single week. That's a lot. And we're having one right after this. Today's members only video is the afterlife real or a comforting illusion? So you can, support and get access to all that by supporting at any tier on Patreon, or tier 2 or higher by hitting the join button on YouTube right below this video. Also, be aware, there are a lot of scammers out there. I just got another email today from someone asking if it's me. No, it's not. If there are people in the comments or people DMing you, pretending to be me, saying to join my WhatsApp or join my Telegram or whatever, that's not me. It's a scam. Don't fall for it. Also, there are people and groups out there that don't like what I'm doing and don't like what we are doing and are spreading a lot of misinformation and disinformation about me, our group, and what we do. So just use your logic and reason, use your head, don't fall for the BS. All right, here we go, my friend. Are you a light worker or are you a dark worker or are you something else entirely? So we're taking a look at this concept. Now, another reason why I thought this would be a good time to look at this concept as well is we kind of touched on, or at least it relates to what we were talking about on Monday, because on Monday, we took a look at a banned Gnostic text called the Tripartite Tractate that described beings that incarnated with Jesus Christ. And some of these beings incarnated and forgot what they are. Other beings did so to become teachers and healers, and then others did so with a lust for power and dominance and control. And I think this is very similar to some of the ideas in the spiritual community about light workers and dark workers. And I think this is something that we should talk about because I see it going around from time to time, and it's important to bring this up. So what I will be doing in the course of this video, as well as reading some excerpts from Ari Love's article on medium.com called Lightworkers versus Dark Workers, sharing the differences between light workers and dark workers. So we're going to be taking a look at that Ari's Love's, or I'll be reading some excerpts from her article so we can get an idea of how some people view these concepts, and I'll be talking about it myself. So that being said, if you enjoy some of the excerpts I read, go over, follow Ari Love, go give Ari Love a follow and support her over on medium.com. I really like the articles that she writes. I don't agree with her all the time 100%, but I think she's really cool. I think she has her heart in the right place, and I like very much what she writes. All right, so let's begin here. So the main thing that we want to figure out, right, is like, what are light workers and dark workers? So Ari describes light workers. Let's see how Ari describes light workers. She says, light workers are souls who incarnate to Earth to raise the vibration. These individuals are kind, loving, and compassionate healers. Because they are healers, light workers may experience hardships and challenging times. These challenges happen so that they awaken the light within them. The more light workers heal, the more powerful that they become. So again, we can kind of see the comparison back to the banned book that we read, the Tripartite Tractate. Same sort of thing. You had these beings that incarnated to be healers and teachers. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is to show that this is no new idea. This is something that people have been talking about for thousands of years, and we can see evidence of that in the Tripartite Tractate. And that's just one example, but I think that it's a very good example. And you probably heard this a lot in terms of New Age and spirituality, people claiming to be light workers or saying that they are a light worker. So it's this idea of compassionate healers. And what people often associate with light workers are service to others or helping others, all about being other oriented. And we even see this dichotomy play out in things like the law of one or the raw material, which instead of light workers and dark workers, right, they have positive and negative entities. And positive entities are all about service to others, helping others, and the negative entities are all about service to self and helping the self. We're going to see similar themes, and I'm just pointing out here, it's important to see that this is a pattern that repeats quite a lot throughout history and in different traditions and different interpretations. So Ari says that light workers agreed to come to Earth to transmute darkness into light. And again, this is similar to the book that we read where these beings consciously chose to incarnate. They, unlike most people who are just automatically pulled towards the material realm, according to this book, these beings made the decision to do so. Some of them forgot once they did incarnate. It alludes to that, but others did not, and they all made the conscious choice to do so. So Ari says these individuals chose to use their gifts and healing abilities for the good of humanity. Light workers have a beautiful aura and a very calm presence. It is important to note that some light workers are empaths, but not all empaths are light workers. Similarly, all starseeds are light workers, but not all light workers are starseeds. So now we have a good definition of light workers. Let's see how Ari defines dark workers here, and then I'm going to tell you what I think about all this. And so Ari says dark workers have no interest in healing others. These individuals are purely in their ego and focus on self-gratification. If psychic, they use their gifts to get what they want. Dark workers are generally into witchcraft and self-worship. They may also practice black magic or other dark rituals. If they are empaths, they may use their ability as a tool to get what they want. So, one thing I want to say here is I think it's kind of unfair to assume or imply that those who do witchcraft are dark. That's not necessarily the case. Witchcraft can be a very positive tradition. It's not this, dark evil thing. It says light workers are often a target for dark workers because they are giving. A dark worker can spot a light worker from a mile away because their frequencies are so high. Most dark workers are turned off by high vibrating individuals, but see them as easy prey. If approached by a dark worker, before here, I don't want to read all that right now. So let's talk about this for a minute. There's more things that I need to point out here. But another thing that Ari points out is that dark workers do a lot of shadow work, and that's important. That's what I'm going to talk about here. But in general, the main idea, right? The main idea is that light workers are all about others and healing and being kind and giving, and dark workers are all about the self and instant gratification and using their abilities to fool and manipulate. And it says here, light workers go inward while dark workers go outward, etc. And I just want to be clear here that there is a judgment in some way happening here, because Ari at one point goes, what does Ari say? Ari says that at one point she was a dark worker. I don't know if she means in a past life or something. And she says, although I was absolutely disgusted that I could be so dark, I understand there's no light without darkness, etc. So there is a judgment here in general that dark workers aren't so great. They're not light workers good, dark workers bad, right? That's kind of the idea here. And so you see this theme a lot, right? Light workers and dark workers, and positive and negative beings, like in the law of one, etc. So, and you see this dichotomy, right, of light and dark, and then like light workers go outwards, dark workers go inwards. Light workers are about helping others and helping others, and then others are about the self, etc. Now, what I want to talk about, what I think that it's important to get across here, if you think about, oh, hey, which one am I, right? Not me, but from your perspective, which one are you, right? Which one are you? Which one am I? I think that a lot of you out there might be going, oh, I'm kind of both. I can kind of, kind of a mix of both. And my whole gripe about this, and I like Ari, and I think that's a good article and interesting. But my gripe in general with a lot of New Age spirituality and things like whatever tradition it's coming from, where they're separating things into clear, like, oh, light and dark, kind of like Star Wars, the dark Jedi and the light Jedi. Reality is a lot more complicated than that. And to partition things into light and dark is, and one being good and the other being evil, is to really make a caricature of reality, because reality is a lot more complicated than that. It's kind of like when you look at, again, if you look at Star Wars and you look at the good Jedi and then the dark Sith, who are just like the epitome of evil, right? There's just everything about them is just, total evil versus good. And reality is a lot more complicated than that. So I've actually talked about this before. So personally, when I talk about this sort of thing, I prefer to talk in terms of shadow workers, right? Usually I say shadow workers rather than dark workers. I'll talk about light workers and shadow workers. And so the idea here is that, and then Ari talks about how dark workers do shadow work and things like that. So are there people out there who are trying to, or maybe not even trying to inadvertently, but are they having negative effects on the world? Yes, absolutely. But I think it can be really negative to categorize things like this because, look, we are all beings of light and dark, and we have all these powers within us and to wield in a certain way. And we want to be in touch with our light, and we also want to be in touch with our shadow, because it's very important to be in touch with both. We want the light of consciousness, but we also want to be in touch with our shadow. And the reason why is because every single one of us has darkness. Every single one of us has shadow. We do. We are complex beings and have all forces and all energies of all kinds and all types within us. So all of us are beings of shadow and light. It's just rather, do we embrace that or not? And the thing is that most people do not embrace their darkness. They repress their darkness. And in psychology, particularly Jungian psychology, or in our Neogenian system of inner star actualization, all your repressed content, all the parts of you that deny, are contained within the reservoir of your shadow self. And as Carl Jung says, the more that you ignore it, the blacker and denser that it becomes. And so you have this darkness within you, and if you don't engage in shadow work by integrating it and accepting it and using it in a productive way, then it will control your life and consume your life, and you can even have addictions arise from this, and negative outbursts arise from this. And you probably have seen this before. A really good case in point of this is if you take a look at maybe you'll be on social media and you'll get someone that leaves like just the worst comment, the most hateful comment, like, oh, you unalive yourself, blah, 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 blah. And then maybe you go tap on their profile and it says something in their bio like, oh, love and light, positive vibes only. Have you ever, tell me in the comments if you've had an experience like that. I've had many experiences like that. And this is because people who ignore their shadow and ignore their darkness, that shadow and darkness will come out at some point because it's a part of them and it's in them, and it is yearning to be free, and it will find a way to be free. That's why it often leads to addiction, because if one, let's say, is drinking a lot, when one drinks a lot, this lowers one's inhibitions, and the shadow can come out in the form of maybe angry if they're an angry drunk, or sexual gratification if they engage like in sexual acts or whatever while they're drunk. And the shadow can have some time to be free and get out, and the shadow likes that. And so the unconscious forces will keep driving you back to drink or do whatever addiction that it is. This isn't always the cause of addiction, not by any means, but it can be a very large source of addiction. So I don't, and this isn't exactly what New Age or spirituality is talking about when they talk about light workers and dark workers or whatever. But my point is that I think that it can be harmful to make the judgment, oh, light bad or light good, one must be light all the time, dark bad must never be dark, because we are beings of light and dark and shadow and light, and we are both the sun and the eclipse, the star and the abyss, and we have to acknowledge all aspects of ourselves. And if we don't, it will control our lives. And Carl Jung was very explicit about this. This is why it's important to embrace all aspects of ourselves. And this doesn't just apply to that as well, but all different kinds of dichotomies, especially like the idea of service to self or service to others, right? This idea of, and I see this in comments a lot as well, that I get that, oh, well, it's all about others. Anything that benefits the self is black magic, and anything that benefits the self is dark. It's all about helping others. And helping others is great. Helping others is fantastic. But there's nothing wrong with wanting to help the self either, because the reason why is that we are all individual selves within an interconnected collective. And so if we help the self, we do help the collective because we are part of the self. The more that we are augmented, the more power that we have, the more power we have to help the collective and to help others as well. So there is nothing wrong with service to self. Service to self is fine as long as it's not at the expense of others. You see the difference there? Is that one can do something to help the self, and it can be in a very positive way, or it can be a negative way where it's at the expense of others. Let's say someone, I don't know, screws someone over, screws someone else at work so that they can get a promotion, or steals to get money, steals from someone so that they have more money. So now, yeah, if you steal, you are augmenting the self by accruing more money, but at the expense of someone else, rather than if you accrued more money by creating something amazing that someone bought, or whatever. But the point is that there's nothing wrong with service to self as long as it's not at the expense of others. And likewise, service to others is not always a positive thing. This is what happens when someone's power self gets out of control. Because see, we're dealing with all these different unconscious forces and unconscious archetypes. And so within the inner star actualization in our system, you have the shadow self, the mirror self, and the power self. And the power self is your internal yearning, your unconscious yearning of your potentiality, of all that you can be and all that you could become. And when dealing with these unconscious forces, you have to integrate them properly. If not, you can become possessed. You can become shadow possessed, mirror possessed, power possessed, etc. And so a problem that happens is if someone becomes power possessed, it can go in one or two ways. Either they have the ability or the desire to want to dominate and manipulate and control others, or on the complete opposite side of the spectrum, they might want to nurture and help others to such a degree that it becomes negative for themselves or even for others. And that's an example when someone becomes so obsessed with nurturing and helping others that they engage in self-sacrifice, or they start ignoring their own needs at the great detriment to themselves. Or they engage in codependent relationships where they're trying to fix someone, or they stay in a relationship where maybe they're being abused or something because, oh, they want to help this person and they can fix them or something like this. Or they become so attached to helping a certain group. Let's say that this group is actually very evil and are doing negative things to the world, but they have become so empathetic and attached that they're nurturing them and helping them. So service to other is not always good. Service to others can engage in servicing others that are of a orientation that are negatively impacting and hurting the world, and thus increasing the hatred and violence and negativity in the world. or that you can do it to such an extent that it's at the expense of yourself and you're engaging in unhealthy relationships, unhealthy dynamics, etc. So the important thing to get across here is that if we're going to talk about, light and darkness, etc., I think that it gets into a lot of spiritual systems and a lot of spiritual traditions do this. They divide things into light and dark, and look at light as positive and darkness as negative, and service to others as positive and service to self as negative. And I don't subscribe to that. I think that is unhealthy, and I think it leads to a lot of assumptions and a lot of ideas that are ultimately not in line with one's true self, the higher self, because your higher self contains all of these energies. You are everything. You are the totality. You are all things. Now, this doesn't mean, though, that you want to go out and just be shadow possessed either. So that's the other thing that happens, right? Is if you're a being of both shadow and light, you want to be exercising your light and you want to be exercising your shadow, and you want to be doing so in a concerted way, in concert. You want to be doing so in a way where it's in a synergistic relationship. And this is what integration is all about. So basically, shadow work is extremely important. And shadow work is about acknowledging your dark aspects and getting them to work in your conscious life in a positive way. So let's take a look at this. For example, if we take a look at, so the shadow self, for those who don't know, like I've said, the shadow self is the repository for all things that you have rejected about yourself and repressed into your unconscious. And this can be a number of things. It can be anger, it can be sexuality, it can be creativity, it can be independence. And the reason why is because basically your shadow self is built from all the things that society has deemed as wrong. And some of these things are qualities that are legitimately negative, like having a quick temper, let's say, having a quick temper. Because obviously, if you're a child and you have a quick temper all the time, you're going to be reprimanded by your teachers. Your friends aren't going to like you. Your family, your mom and dad will punish you. Your parents in general will punish you. And so this causes psychological discomfort. And then so you deny that that's a part of you. And this becomes a part of your shadow self. And you repress that. But other things can be repressed as well, like creativity and independence. Because if you are overly creative, such that you are standing out from the crowd, let's say you wear clothes that are vibrant or an extravagant makeup look, you're going to be made fun of. Your family will be like, oh, you can't go out like that, or whatever. Again, this is going to cause psychological discomfort, so you repress it. Same thing with independence. Why aren't you going along with the crowd? You need to get in line, etc. So that gets repressed. So your shadow self contains all these different qualities, both good and bad. And shadow work involves embracing these and using them in a positive way. So this can involve acknowledging your creativity, acknowledging your independence, which is very powerful and very important. But it also involves these negative qualities like anger. But you have to find a way to deal with these things in a positive and healthy way. So if one is dealing with their shadow in terms of anger in a healthy and positive way, that can look like a number of things. That can look at like channeling one's anger into, let's say, engaging in peaceful protests, or getting fired up about helping some cause that they believe in, and channeling that energy to create something. Or maybe you start a black metal band or something where you can get your aggression out by, yelling into the microphone, and now you're doing something creative. Or, you're going to therapy and having your therapist help you out with it. Whatever is going on, you have embraced it and accepted it. You have said, yes, I have this. This is a part of me. I accept it and I acknowledge it. But what does that mean? That doesn't mean that, you're just going to be a quick angered asshole now. No, that's not what it means. That would be shadow possession. See, that's the problem that some people have when working with the shadow, is that they identify with the shadow, and this results in shadow possession. And shadow possession is when you like, oh, well, I have anger as part of my shadow. Yep, that is me, and I'm just an angry person, and if you don't like me, well, that's who I am. or what, that's just one example. Whatever. It's about whatever is in your shadow. If you're just like, oh, I'm just going to completely identify with that now, and then this becomes one's personality, and it takes over the personality. But that's not true. The shadow is just a part of what you are. So you don't want to do that. You want to go, oh, okay, I do have this issue, which is anger. I'm not going to identify with it, as in I'm not going to become an angry person. I'm going to acknowledge that energy and use that energy in a healthy way. Like I said, peaceful protests, or creating music that allows one to get out their aggression through lyrics or performance in a safe way, of course. But that's the difference. That's when you see the difference between integrating the shadow and becoming shadow possessed. But this is so much more healthy than someone who is just, oh, I'm a being of light, and then this person would just completely ignore their shadow totally. Oh no, I'm not like that. That's not me. I'm this nice, positive vibes only, empathetic person. I don't have any anger problems, not at all. But they actually do, and this is when the shadow leaks out and they start engaging in angry outbursts through perhaps social media, or leading to addiction because it lets the shadow get out at certain points. So I think it's very important to acknowledge both the light and dark parts of ourselves, because we are all beings of light and shadow, and being able to integrate these parts of ourselves is what we need to have a healthy, complete, and whole self. Because we have all these different forces. Like I said, in inner star actualization, we have the shadow self, we have the power self, we have the mirror self, and all of these forces and energies are within us and contribute to who we are as a totality, as a soul, as a zeta, as an eternal mind. We have all these forces within us. So I don't particularly care for the separation of things like this, the implication that light good, dark bad. I think that it's much better to look at ourselves as whole beings of all these energies and all these powers, and then realize that, hey, we have a collective goal to, in our system at least, right? In the Neogenian system, we're here to create a new beginning. So our collective goal, our telos, is to increase the quality of life for the individual and the collective, for all, increase quality of life for all. And so when we judge things that are right or wrong, it's things that either pull us towards that goal or pull us away from that goal. And helping the self, there's nothing wrong with helping the self, as long as it is not at the expense of others or expense at the whole, because you are part of that totality. You are part of the self, or the whole. We are both one and many simultaneously. So we want to be helping others. We want to be lifting others up. We want to be encouraging others, while also making sure that we are healthy and happy and not engaging in situations where we are neglecting ourselves or staying in unhealthy relationships because we think we can help the other person. We want to have a balance. We want to have a balance of self and other. We want to have a balance of light and dark, so that we are complete and whole individuals, both beings of shadow and light. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, my friends. That's what we're going to talk about today. Like I said, if you do want to check out our members only video that we're going to be having right now, it's going to be really good. We're talking about the afterlife. Is the afterlife real, or is it a comforting illusion? That's what's going on in our members only video. And hey, if you want to support, you can support over on patreon.com, help this channel grow, help this information get out there, helps out a lot. Or support over on YouTube as well by hitting the join button right below this video. And I appreciate it very much. And hey, as always, remember, this isn't church, so don't feel obligated to support monetarily. You don't have to. There are plenty of free ways you can support, like liking and sharing and subscribing. But on that note, I do want to shout out those who support. I appreciate it very much, especially Renaissance Fairy, Cassidy, Angela, the Halloween Mom, DB, Enki, Nusalina, Paul Rogers, Eric Fire, Massam, Christopher Smith, and everyone else. Thank you very much.